Hi, Madison. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm amazing. I am so happy to have you on Queen Flow today and to chat about your experience in the revolution because it's just been phenomenal and to share you with my audience because you do really cool work also. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yay. Okay, so to kick off, could you please just introduce like what you do? I know, of course, you have two sides of your business. So we have like the business to business side, and then we also have like our quote unquote business to consumer side. But I just love to hear, oh, actually, before we do, well, you can do it while we do it, what you do, and then also your top three in astrology, if you know it, and kind of just like the high level of your human design, because my people like to quote unquote profile in this way.
Yeah, so I am an Aries sun, Sag moon, and Capricorn rising in astrology.
I love that.
And I'm a 3-5 manifesting generator in human design with an open head. And that was part of the thing that like drew me to you is I was like, I think a 3-5 needs a 3-5 coach. Like, I think there's just something about it where it's just like we need ourselves in this sense.
To
Yeah.
understand like why are we going through all these things
Yeah.
like yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like at some point I made a resolution to like not learn things the hard way. And then I learned about human design. I was like, oh, I actually don't have a choice. Like this is my life. Um, so yeah, so what I do, so I
You
do
also know that I'm an Aries sun and a Sag moon also.
yeah, I think we have like yeah, I think we have very similar charts.
Very cool. Okay.
Um, and so I do a couple of things. So I on the business to business side, my expertise and background is in storytelling as a tool for health equity. And so I work with organizations to embed storytelling practices and like do storytelling to foster connection with the communities they're responsible for serving. Because we don't get goosebumps from data, but we do get goosebumps from stories. And like stories are such a good advocacy tool. And it's just like a big necessary part of health equity work. Which a ton of like time and money has gone into furthering health equity, but none of it has really brought communities along with it. And so that's sort of where I try to build that bridge.
Could you
Um,
share what health
yeah, health equity
equity is
is,
exactly?
yeah, it is like health equity is the effort to bring, like, have it so each individual in each community has equal access to health. And so, not so much that every single individual has access to the same services, but every individual in every community has access to services that meet their needs and their express needs. And, like, my whole thing is that, like, every individual and community knows exactly what they need to be well and to thrive. We just, like, don't listen to them or, like, make decisions on their behalves. And so I really see storytelling as a way to make sure that like communities are involved in the decisions made in the effort to improve their health and their access to like trustworthy healthcare.
Through the context of like their corporate environment.
Yeah, like through yeah, so like setting up with different healthcare organizations or nonprofits or foundations, like different storytelling events or programs, or like making it like patient to provider interactions, like adding storytelling into that, just to like build connection at every level of the healthcare organization. And like health equity is done, yes, in hospitals, but it's also done in like nonprofits and foundations and all those organizations and governments and things. And so it's like sort of we need all of that wraparound. And like I've worked with organizations that work on gun violence, and then I've worked with government organizations, and I've worked with like so many different that like health is sort of everywhere. And I really think that our like if a community's health is is something's out of whack there, it's a sign that so many other systems have failed them, like education and food access and all of that. So it's like when we go to health and go to the source, we can so much more, we can like meet their true needs and like understand what else needs to be in place to support them.
And talk about making money doing it. So that's incredible.
Yeah, it
Okay. And then the other side of your company?
Yeah, the other side is more I'm an author, and so I have my first book deal, which is exciting. And I also host an art residency on the land that I live on. And like a lot of my I write a newsletter as well, about like connection and like connection to self, connection to others, connection to the planet, and connection to awe. And all of that, like I'm realizing as I ladder up to a book coming out in a year, because it's a long runway to a book, is that like I really want to make sure that I build a personal brand that like sustains that, so that like when the book comes, there's opportunities for, to have bigger conversations on podcasts and other panels and things like that. And so that is that is something that I'm focusing a lot on, and understanding of like what it means to hone a personal brand and to like talk about the things that matter a lot to me in a way that is also like engaging for an audience, and can reach more people.
Yeah, I love it. So good. So good. Okay. So you came, I know you've been in my world for a little bit because originally you were in the Secret Money membership, and I'm assuming you had purchased before the Secret Money, something brought you into the Secret Money membership as well.
Mhm.
And then of course you came into the Revolution in December, and here we are only in January, and we have some like incredible results to celebrate. But I would love to hear, because I know there's going to be so many other people like in this position who are kind of like, oh, what should I do? Or haven't
Mhm.
moved yet. Like, what was going on? But we tend to think our problems are very unique, and they're kind of not, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
what was going on in your life and business, kind of money, like all the things you desire to dive into? And just kind of like the mindset you had. There was so much you shared with me that I thought was really powerful about how you were thinking about entrepreneurship, and also like that you were going to have to like sort of like force yourself into these style containers that like really weren't going to work for you, in order to get where you desire to go. And like, you know what, I think that happens for women a lot. And so I'm curious kind of like what was going on and what brought you into my world, like in a deeper capacity to come into the revolution.
Yeah. So like in the past, like 2 years, I've manifested like and like brought into my life like my like dream partnership in my home and the glam site and the art residency and the book deal and all of these things. But for some reason I was just like, and then my career is just going to happen to me. Like I like have a job that I like and things like that. But I was really sort of like felt like there was no like space on the internet for me, and I was doing all sorts of like sales calls with other organizations that work particularly with consultants and other things like that. And it was like it was really broy, and it was really like I was thinking like how disappointing it would be if I to pay for support and then have to sort of like cobble it together or like force myself into it almost and be like, okay, they don't quite get me, but I can like figure it out somehow to like make it work for me. And then also in the same time, like sort of building two things at once. The consulting side of my business, I have never it's been really like word of mouth. And like that's been great. And like as I am departing a 9 to 5 environment, I'm preparing to do so. It's sort of like this. I really wanted to find a place that I could learn to be like a lighthouse rather than like out, like just trying to like pitch myself and like do all of these things. Um, and yeah, I wanted to be able to just like draw things to me because like people know, I really know that people are looking for this type of work. And so I like it is easier for I can make it easier for them to find me rather than me assuming that like I need to pitch myself to them.
Yeah.
Um,
What we call attraction-based marketing. Yeah.
Attraction-based marketing. Yeah. And then I was listening to your podcast about I was listening to like three one day. I was like doing a bunch of errands and like listening to them. And it was sort of this moment where I had been so, like obsessively in the runway up to meeting my partner had been like obsessively like fixing myself, like trying to fix myself and like root out all these things and like search around for all my limiting beliefs and like solve this and solve that and like, oh, and then I'll be ready. And then like in partnership now have realized that like we just get to like be well, be happy, like bop along, and then like as things come up, alchemize them. But it otherwise just like gets to be delicious. But like, so I let that like partnership mirror to me that like career could be like that. I just had to stop thinking that like at some point I would wake up and be like fixed in a way that I was ready to have a business. Um, that was bigger than the business that I had already had, because like the business I had even like 2 months ago was like handed to me in many ways. Like people hearing what I do and then like coming to me and like doing contract to contract. And then I was like, wait a second, like this could be my life and I could do it in a way where I could like step away from hourly work into like retainer based models or like programs and things like that. But I just every time that I like tried to, I was like floundering around the internet, like trying to find places that like where I could grow that and grow my personal brand for my authorship, and I would just like it just all felt so like constrictive, and it felt like there wasn't any place until I found the revolution that like made sense to do both at the same time, and that also just like got me, and that like was spiritual but wasn't like um going to have me again on this like infinite endless search for like what might be wrong with me that's holding me back from that, when in reality like the process of finding the things that I think are quote unquote wrong with me was what was holding me back from like doing the thing that I like am supposed to be and want to be doing.
100%. And you also mentioned how like you want to be in a spiritual space. You know how I'm always talking about like, can we stop with the limiting belief hunting? Like
Yeah.
I think you were mentioned because you mentioned to me, it was one of my podcast episodes about money where I'm like, your limiting beliefs are not the issue. Like we need to stop
No.
looking for problems. This is not how you attract wealth, like, or create it. Like you will have nothing inspirational is going to come from this. Like this is just never ending. You're going to pick apart these limiting beliefs today, and then tomorrow you're going to have the same ones. You will be no,
Yeah.
we need to stop the dig, right?
Right.
So it's like, and like the energetic ascendance that creates abundance is an elevation. It's not like a digging around what's here, you know,
Hmm.
it's like
Hmm.
actually transcending above it, which is actually a lot faster as well. And then, so I love this. And then you also mentioned like knowing that you obviously needed like strategic support to like grow
Yeah.
a company. And it's like, I don't fit in like the bro marketing world. And like, why do I need to reduce myself to trying to make it work, but I pay money to try to make it work? Like, this makes no sense. I'm glad you valued yourself to understand that. And also, I want like the energetic elevation. And that I loved hearing that too, because that's how I see my work. That's how I see business. That's how I see my quote unquote ideal client as a woman who wants both in one place, where it's like, I'm going to get really grounded business support that is attraction based, but also highly strategic and works. You know what I mean? And like, we don't all run our businesses the same way, but and I never teach to that because like you and I, for example, like, you know, you've closed $75,000 in contracts. We don't have a similar model at all. Like, it's not about that, right? It's just about smart business. So I loved hearing what brought you into this space because that's exactly like my intention for this space as well.
Yeah, it's like one of those where it's like at some point I was like, believe it or not, Justin, like there aren't many spaces on the internet where it's like, okay, I am a queer, indigenous, Harvard educated consultant, but also author, like with a very like sort of spiritual connection based business. Like, it's like it's easy to get into like there's nowhere for me, but somehow here you are, you built it, you did it, you
Yeah,
found it.
I
Yeah.
always say I'm for the multidimensional woman.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, why do we need to be perceived as complicated?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or perceiving ourselves as complicated.
Hmm.
You get what I'm saying. I'm like, we don't
Yeah.
need to, but it's like, oh, I'm not just like this certain way and like the white picket fence and the two kids, and you get to be that way too. I have women like that as well, but it's like
Mhm.
there's, and also that's like a totally like if you desire that, like go get it. But you know what I mean? There's like other parts of us. You're like, okay, but like actually I'm queer, actually I'm highly educated, actually I'm highly spiritual, actually this, actually like I get it,
Yeah.
you know. And it's like I am sort of over that being like like what I said, like why is that complicated? Why do we think we're more you'll do the same thing, I'm sure you went through with partnership. How will I find someone where like this is what they're looking for?
Hmm. Hmm.
You
Yeah, and then like, and I had never like I'd heard so much about this is love money connection, and I didn't get it until I was like, oh, I'm in like solid lifelong partnership, and now I get that I can like mirror, like that can be the mirror I use to build my career after. It was really helpful to be like, okay, I got this, like I can have this everywhere because we get to have what we want, it turns out.
better it gets, the better it gets.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love this. So can we chat about then what occurred? Because you closed an enormous amount of business in an
Hmm.
extremely short amount of time. I'm assuming that like blew your mind as well, even though we're expecting good things. You spent all this time being like, I don't fit. And then you come in and it's like, boom. And
Yeah.
also, what is so cool for me is like, you haven't even been in long enough for us to have our first coaching call. Like, this has been all from the content, which is also what I want my content to like. That's why I give you guys access to everything you have access to.
Yeah. And something you talk a lot about is like momentum. And I think it was that like momentum of being like my intention was like, if I invest in this, then I will then be able to build a business that sustains the life that I want. Or like if I make an investment, I will like, and so it's like, I think there's something about that, like being like, oh, if this is the next step, then like we're gonna need the contracts to like follow up with it. Like something magical happened. But yeah, I like had
Talk about that too, where it's like, well, the next obvious thing, because it's like you're naturally moving towards the desire in the most aligned way. And it's like, well, the other things, like, of course they come. Also,
yeah.
you're not just like, you're not expecting moving money to just be the solution. And that's not like your energetic engagement with how you moved, you know?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yeah, no, not at all. And I will answer your question, but I want to say one thing there because I think
Sure.
it's worth saying is that like I chose a payment plan. I could have done the pay in full, but I wanted to like show myself that every single month money comes out of my business account to like to build my support and to like have support. And so I really wanted to like show myself that it is a monthly consistent engagement because like it could have been easy to be like, okay, I make that payment and it like sort of like get it over with, if you will. But I was like, I want to see it come out every month and be like, okay, even though it's not like a massive, massive amount, it's like this is what I do. This is a step I take every single month to like normalize that to myself.
Yeah.
And so that felt important to me to do that, to be like, yes, it's not the moving of the money that like creates the space for the contracts to come through, but it is the like, I take these steps like every single month and like do this thing every month. And so, but yeah, so I joined the revolution and was listening to content. Um, and two organizations that I'd previously worked with, I re-signed contracts with, or signed new contracts with, like pretty surprisingly, for higher amounts than I had before. And then one that I had really been interested in working for just came through in a like they suddenly had a really interesting role that I'm like uniquely positioned for. Not a role, but like a request for proposals. And so I sent it and that moved really quickly. And then it was just, yeah, so it was just like suddenly, um, like that's about the amount I made in my business last year, like in 2024, is like already set for 2025, within the first few weeks of the year because of, yeah, I think a lot of it in like the intentionality of like, okay, like this is, I'm building the business that will sustain me and I'm finding ways to make it more sustainable, which wasn't like even really on my radar as a possibility. I was like, oh yeah, like I will charge an hourly rate, but it's like, but if you like, if I, there's so many ways to like make my services available through other like packages and things like that, that will allow this to be just like get like more and more business with less and less input, which I would never have conceived of as an option for myself before joining the revolution. I just thought it was like I will always be on like a contract based, hourly based model. And then
And so
like,
that totaled $75,000 in contracts, correct?
yeah, yep,
So, I mean, that is like, some people don't even make that in a year.
right.
You're saying, wait, did you say that was what you made in a year last year already contracted for this year?
It's what I made. It's more than I made last year in like my like LLC business, but not more than I made in my like full-time plus LLC business. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But isn't that so cool? Like we say, what you once made in a year, you can make in a month, you
Mhm.
can make in a week, you can make in a day.
It was 3 days, Jocelyn. I had these calls in 3 days and they were like, yes, let's do this. And I was like, okay, then let's do this.
Love it.
Mhm.
So what has been so supportive of you inside the revolution? Obviously, my work spans many different areas, but what do you feel helped you like move along? Because something that you mentioned too was like, oh, because you mentioned being limited on time, which makes
Mhm.
sense. Doing full time, we've got two businesses, you've got a relationship, you want to live your life, we want it to be yum. And you were like, I have 24/7 support. And like, that's really cool because I'm like, yes, like that's amazing. You can plug in for what you need without waiting, you
Yeah.
know? So what's been helpful to you? Like, because like I'm teaching a lot of different things and like it sounds like just so many light bulbs went off that allowed you to like shift how you see yourself, shift how you see business, shift how you see money, clearly shift how you see money. We just had a major quantum leap,
Hmm.
$75,000 in 3 days.
Hmm.
So something occurred, right? And then also just like how you were thinking about the sustainability, because you also mentioned how like didn't you receive like a podcast opportunity? You're like
Yeah.
mapped out
Mhm.
your model. Like, yes, the financial wins, but you mentioned all of these other things as well that were so cool.
Yeah. Well, I like one line that you say that sticks out to me is like where no one's gonna hire somebody who can't even like drink the amount of water that they want to drink in a day. And so I was like, I have like, I think it's one of those things where it was like there was just like a lot of things in my life. Like I do exercise, I do eat healthy, but it's all sort of like um conditional or something, and I was like, if I make all of this like care for self non-conditional, I realized how much it mirrored the way I was doing my business of like, oh, people will come in and I will like create contracts, but it'll be a little bit in reaction to like what they want, and I won't have like proactive offers and things like that. So I like sort of, it feels like like everything just got like tightened up sort of, and it was like, no, I operate in this way. I have a business, and businesses operate in certain ways. Like there's like and so I mapped out my offer structure, and then also mapped out and launched a like for my newsletter for the paid tier, like a new Q&A offering and a new like monthly gathering offering, and then like got brand guidelines in place, and there was just all this stuff that it was like previously it was like, oh, my business is happening to me, and it was like, no, 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 I need to like happen to my business, like yeah. And so that has been really helpful. The content has been really helpful in creating a strategy. And a lot of it is, um, I've been listening to a lot of like the masterminds and just like hearing what other people say, and then just thinking like, oh, that makes sense for me in this way or not, is really helpful. And also listening to how to shit on the internet, and just like, I haven't implemented as much of that. Um, but that I think will be more of my like personal brand Instagram type of stuff, for like that part. And then other parts of it really are for like my more LinkedIn B2B, like this is a very clear problem. This is why I'm the solution. So I think it's like the concrete strategy has been the most helpful for me, because um, I know this is a really in-demand skill. I know that this is like, storytelling is everywhere, and it's like, okay, well then give people a way. Like I need to then open doors for ways for people to like come and find me and know that I'm doing this. And yeah, and then I got
Where it's like random. You know what I
right.
mean? Where it's like they're actually like coming in, they're moving along because people are just like, oh, just have more offers. And I'm like, that having more offers is not necessarily enough to just like automatically make more money.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Yeah.
you start getting really tired because people end up with a graveyard of offers. There's no model, there's no real plan. We're like really heavy on the launches. Like it gets kind of tiring.
Yeah, and something you said really stood out to me that like just opened up, like took so much weight off of what I thought I was carrying, of like, it is not my job to have like to spend months and months and months creating an offer. It is my job to know that I can teach that offer, like get it going, get it rolling, and then like get paid to teach it live, as opposed to like I need to make like a 42 module workshop, and it's like no, like nobody's like that's not even in demand in the like B2B world, but it just feels like, oh, that's the way that you build a business, is you like, have really like really intricately like overly involved things, and it's like, no, what actually people want is like time, like in a mastermind, like sitting together and like asking my questions, and I can like walk it through with them, and like small trainings, but like teach them live the first time, things like that. So it's like it became so much of what I was listening to and learning from you made it like so much less daunting, and realized that like the actual first step is to move, and not to like again sort of hold myself back by being like, there are all these things I need to do until before I can move, because that's just like replicating the pattern I was in before of like I need to like fix myself before I'm ready for a business, and then it's like I need to build a business before I launch a business, and it's like, no, that's the point, like they happen at the same time.
Get paid to move.
Yeah.
Get paid to move, and then you can put it on Evergreen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When you desire to, and like then you have all you can make the money from the Evergreen while you also are mentoring the people. Like, and then we
Yeah.
got two things going on. You know what I mean? But it's like I'm very into it's like there's this fluidity, but it's like strategic is kind of how I.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, there's just always money coming in. And then
Yeah.
it also feels light because as soon as it
Hmm.
starts feeling heavy, when you're an energetically based human and you don't like these like mega launches and like, you know what I mean? This like build out 42 modules before it can hit the ground, like that works for some people. And if that's you, someone listening, that's perfect. We can roll with that. And I happily support you with that. But like for a lot of my clients are not like that. I'm not
Yeah.
like
And like if we think about like my clients won't be either. Like there's nobody in
and not
like
the B2B world, forget
right,
it. Like
exactly. Yeah,
forget
no.
it. They are
Right.
like we need help live way. Like it's just you got to know your client, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And on the other side of like my more personal brand as an author, like a lot of what I write about and what my book will be about is like teachings from the natural world in order to like bring us back into alignment with like ourselves and with the planet and things like that. And so that it's just like it felt so daunting to be like, how do I like make a content calendar and like this, that, and the other thing and da da da. And it's like, no, I write a newsletter every week. And like it had never even considered to like occurred to me to like recycle content. And it's like, that's like pages of things to put on Instagram in
My
like a beautiful way.
newsletter is like 10 posts
Right, exactly. And
and
so
like
then
a
it's like,
podcast episode.
exactly. And then I was like, wait, I need a podcast. And it's just like sort of these things that it's like, I try to like you know when you learn something that should be obvious to you because it's right for you, and then you're like, how did I not think of that? It's like, okay, but that's why you like seek support. Um, and yeah, and so it's just been such an interesting thing of realizing like all these things like that feel so big actually like feed into each other in our ecosystems and are just like naturally aligned with what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's your observation as well from like seeing, because, we'll hear stuff for free and like that's very different than like being in the paid. Oh, I have two questions. So like, what's been the difference to you? Because you said you've also been like listening to, you've kind of known about me, been around my world for like a couple years and then
Mhm.
listen more intensely to the podcast. And then what was your first investment? Oh, was it Manifest?
Yeah, I went manifest. Speaking of client journeys that work, I went manifest into secret money into the revolution.
And it's so funny because I literally just got off a call with one of my clients and we were talking about her model. And she went from actually, I think she bought Magnify Manifest Receive first when like more of my like people would kind of like my model was a little bit different. So they'd come into like mid-ticket first, but then she bought like my All Access Masterclass pass, which then turned into the Secret Money membership. And then she's upgraded to the Revolution. And then like you're the second person. It's like, right. It's like I found quote unquote ascension model that is really light for me. And
Mhm.
with none of this, does this even require me like showing up on the internet and selling my face off? Right. But
Mhm.
like we're making money behind the scenes, we're making money forward facing. But through a strategic model instead of me pushing everything along.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just the way it works for me. I was making a lot of money doing it differently a couple years ago. But
Hmm.
anyway, yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. You're like the second person to mention that today. So that's kind of funny.
Hmm.
Validation of what we're doing, I suppose.
Hmm.
But yeah, what has it been like for you, the difference? Because how long were you in Secret Money before? So I guess Manifest, when did I run Manifest? September?
Um, yeah,
I think it was September.
maybe later, but I've lost a little bit track of time at like the end of the year. But like you ran that, and then I didn't immediately go in to the secret money, but then I did. It like sort of I don't know what I was doing that I saw that manifest was coming, and then it like then you became sticky to me because then it's like, oh, then I was like back on your email list and like I hadn't been on that before. And it was just like things like that where I was like, oh, okay, like, there's these other things. But the difference, so then I think I was in the Secret Money membership maybe only for 2 months or like a month before I upgraded because it was like sort of all these things were coming to a head where it was like, I don't like, yes. I need the things in the secret money membership, but what I actually need is business support and like to build this and to do this. And like, so I was just like, I had just like a few aha moments that sort of like knocked me into like if you want a big business, you have to build it. Like these things don't like, these like, and so I think that it was not long until I went into the revolution. And the difference has been, um, like, yeah, that 24-hour support you mentioned of just like knowing that there's always like, no matter what's going on, there's something I can like listen to or understand. Um, and the way that I think it's where I think like your energetics come through very well and like the way that you like vibe with money comes through extremely well in free content, but like you teach strategy in paid content and like it's evident from free content that you have good strategy because you have a healthy business and it I think it just helped me to like marry the two to be like in the revolution to be like okay there's like there's strategy alongside this that like also gets to be energetic because I had heard and like told myself I was like yeah like I want this to be easy like this can be easy of course with work and strategy but I think that I just like that's something that I've always like been like, yeah, but that's for other people. Like other people can do the easy thing, but I have grinding to do. Like that isn't like I have to do that. And so I think that like having the sort of insight into how you do things from like listening to the way you coach people and all of that and like the content you share or like the way you teach about sales and content has been like I don't know, sort of like dissolved a lot of story that I had previously of like it's the grind for me. You know, like I really want ease for everyone else, but like I've got to grind.
But I think sometimes where that comes from is we haven't been actually guided to a path of ease for us. So it's
Right.
like, well, I've not seen anything. I see results on the internet, but like I've not really been seeing things, doing things that would create ease for me personally because we're all different. Like I cannot tell you the difference amount of difference between my clients and like what defines ease to them, whether we're talking about sales strategy, offer model, like content, like no one's the same. And
Right.
that's why I really and I like what you're saying too, because it's like I'm very strategic, but it's not like a this is the model and this is it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I'm like, here's the options and here's the principles behind why I'm sharing this with you. So you can get smarter. Like I talk about, like, get smart once, make millions on repeat. You become a smarter business person because you're not just following steps, you're understanding why behind everything that I'm saying. So you're also have the quote unquote business intelligence to evolve what I'm saying or to, manipulate it some in a positive way that's going to like work for you. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? And you're actually getting better at business. It's not like this monkey see, monkey do where you're always reliant on, okay, tell me the next step because I don't even understand like how this works.
Yeah. Like nothing that
Even
I've
though I
listened.
tell all the steps, you know what I mean?
Right. Right. But like nothing that I've listened to or like been a part of in the revolution has like necessarily like been like there's nothing I could copy and paste and put in my own business, but it
Yeah.
is like caused me to think of ideas or like processes or things that would work because it's like you're coaching people with so many different businesses and something that I always have qualms with in like academia and the world generally is like we're like it's like the niche down niche down niche down but it's like something from a coaching business might make a ton of sense for my type of business and somebody from who's like running a farm like I also have a lot of like planet-based content as well and so it's like learning from the others as well is like it's like I should not learn the way I learn. I should not learn from somebody who only teaches to people who run a business like mine. I need to learn from like others so that I can like, because that's the only time that I'm able to then react to it and like make it make sense for myself and like make a model then from there that makes sense. But yeah, there's nothing like you're not on Substack. Like, you're not like heavy on LinkedIn, but like the things that I've learned from you, it's like, oh, that's how I would make that happen on LinkedIn. Like that's how I can like add a podcast and like a new paid element to my Substack. Like it's sort of like opens that up and then like
But I love Substack and I think it's an
yeah.
amazing platform. And I
Mm-hmm.
have clients who are heavy on Substack and are
Mm-hmm.
heavy on LinkedIn.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
cool.
and I think that like one other thing there is like I like in the difference between free and like making an investment and like the like obviously it's made a huge difference in my life and business in like a short time and will continue to, but like is that I was always really weary and like I would listen because I never wanted to like you talk a lot about discernment and I was always afraid of like with great sales language and things that like my discernment would go away, and I would like listen to podcasts about like coaching things that got like culty and weird and like other things to try to like ground myself and be like I don't want to lose myself in this. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to like think I'm getting support and then end up in like some sort of like dynamic, and like I never
Don't get
worried about that with you,
started.
but I yeah, but
Don't
it
get me
just
started on that topic. Yeah.
right. I was like I was so sure that because there is bamboozling that happens that like that might happen to me, and then I was like okay, yeah, but I've like know thyself, ground thyself, like that's not going to happen. But, and so I was so careful about investing, and like really making sure that like the person made sense to me and that it wasn't like I was like, and I like trying to give myself time to like, because I'm a very sacral being and like I just know when I know. And so like I knew that I was going to join the revolution like as soon as I learned about it. And I gave myself time to like just like I mean time being like a couple of like a week or two, but to just be like, okay, I'm buying in because I just was so I had to teach myself that like it wasn't I don't know, like some sort of scheme or something.
Yeah. I know what you mean. It's like even if you knew it wasn't going to be a trick, even if you had a natural trust, like you already were in my world, you knew what it was
Yeah.
like. You know
Right.
what I mean? So like you already had the flavor.
Hmm.
But there is this thing that occurs a lot in this industry that's very like you get, and it almost like I know this because especially with my open head and human design and whatever, like I have to be so careful
Yeah.
what room I'm in because then it's like there's too much noise and it's like my own identity, my own thoughts, my own of dollars get squashed. Like I can't
Right.
breathe. And I imagine a lot of my clients, without maybe having those words, experience the same thing or are cautious of experiencing the same thing. And I think that that's like healthy. And that is why I don't intend to create an environment where it's like, I am the holy one. Everyone's investing because they want to be like me, that crazy shit. But it's
Hmm.
very common. Like you're gonna have aspects where you're like, she is strong in that area, and I desire to strengthen in that area. That's normal growth. But you know what I mean? How that's we're not
Hmm.
idolization.
Yeah.
And then also where it's like, yes, I say this is a movement, like the Rocks Millions is a movement, but to me that feels very like, okay, that's like something that you can ground in. You're not like part, it doesn't feel to me like you are in my named community, which is also sort of like you're in my cult.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm really like not, I don't, that really doesn't, it works very well for marketing. People are making a lot of money that way right now. It's like very like on trend, you know? But I'm like, I can't, that is not it for me.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
gonna
I
be,
mean,
and my clients aren't looking for a hero. Like no one in my world is like everybody wants to feel more like them and be successful and have the tools to be successful, fully being them, not because they needed to like drink my Kool-Aid
right.
in
Yeah.
order
And I think
to be like anointed with money. It's like very weird.
it is very weird. And I think, yeah. And I never had that concern about you. I just had the concern about the whole, like as a whole, like, like in terms of, finding coaches and like what it all meant.
Valid. It's like I don't even think that's you being paranoid. I think that's valid.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's just like shit gets weird out there. And I did not, and like, and it's like I mean, we all have a lot to lose, but I just felt like I had a lot to lose, like I love my home that I bought. There's so many things that it's just like I don't want to lose everything because I like, yeah, because I just like end up in like a coaching cult.
That's fair. So I'm
Yeah.
really happy to hear that's not how you feel because
I don't feel that way.
I'm like, let's create empowered individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
prefer to make money creating empowered individuals than I do trying to like mind manipulate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ugh, I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
and I think that also like um the first time I heard you on a podcast was yeah, like 3 years ago, and then I just like and immediately was like that is an interesting person. And then I think it was like sometime later that I found you on social media and I was like this is an interesting person. And of all of the like noise out there, you were the only person who made me want to buy something.
oh,
Yeah. And I was talking to this because I was talking to a friend because like her and I were talking back and forth about like business support and what we were looking to do in 2025. And she's like, well, why did you go with Jocelyn? And I was like, because there's so much noise. And it was like, she made me stop and be like, this is what I want. And then like, if that's the impact I want to have on other people, then that's who I should be learning from. And so it was like, I don't want to be Jocelyn, but I want to like have the impact that she has in the like with her community in a very different like realm that I work in.
Yeah, this is content.
Yeah.
But right, it's not based on like, here's your fucking hooks that you need to use.
No.
We are talking about like thought leadership, influence, like
Mhm.
soul truth, deep shit, rock the boat, but not because you're just creating drama. Like,
Right.
it's like like people get so lost in the sauce. Like when you can market your truth, like become an expert at literally marketing your truth, that's where the magic happens. And
Hmm.
I give, I so many frameworks and ways of doing it and ways of thinking about it. But all I am tending to do, like, let's say it's a content conversation, is like teach you how to basically like market your truth powerfully. Like, there is no more aligned way to get paid than that.
Yeah. And something that I've learned from you is like, because like, is that how much I was watering down things up to this point, and
That's
then like,
what's taught on the internet.
yeah.
So what's being taught in business, we're kind of like, and I actually think people are going to start, like, first there was the wave. It was like, put down a house mortgage to be in my energy, right? That
Hmm.
weird toxic culty thing, which like, yes, invest in yourself, but you get my point. Like we should
Yeah.
be learning things. You were in learning about business, like tell me what you actually learned, or you just like caught up on a frequency, right? And like I sell high ticket. You get
Hmm.
but like then not then it turned into like this like what I call like fast food marketing on the internet. Everything's a 7 second reel, everything's two steps, everything is like I'm like people are gonna wear like this is like cheap thrills. You know what I mean? So to your point around like everything felt like noise, it's because everybody thinks that because so and so made $1 billion, if I do exactly what so and so did, I will make $1 billion too. And all you're doing is amplifying so and so who that's actually working for. And we need to get to what works for you. And most of the time, when you are someone with like depth, like you're wanting to have deeper conversation, like the 7 second reel strategy is like not going to be it for you.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Yeah,
so
and like,
that's not really my vibe either. So probably I'm just saying that's why a lot of that felt like noise is people just jump on a trend so fast. And I'm always like, build a timeless brand that will last forever.
yeah, 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 for sure. And like something I think about, I like stopped. I read this book by Martha Beck called The Way of Integrity, and she like stopped lying to herself for a year and had to like leave her marriage and her family and her church and her community and everything.
Mhm.
And
Wait,
and
what's it called?
The Way of Integrity.
Oh, I want to read this. This sounds
Yeah,
cool.
it's really good. It's a good listen to. I listened to it. But and so I listened to that and then I was like and then I like went to post something and I was like watering down what I actually want to say or like trying to follow some sort of um like use the hook and then you have 3 seconds to do this and then I was like it's
Oh,
actually like a lie. You know what I mean? Like it's a different type of lie, but it's like not actually the like if my whole thing is that like the quality of our life depends on the quality of our connections, then how am I like basically like like telling a really watered down version of the truth? Like that is a disconnecting act. Like that is something that just like goes against what I believe and what I know that like others need to like have the life that they deserve. And yet I'm doing it in order to teach that. Like that doesn't make sense. But it was just like, but it's just,
oh,
yeah, but it was like this fear of like, oh, I can't actually say anything online because it'll piss people off. But like, fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
And let's get to doing it your way. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying we can't have any 7 second reels, but you get my point.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
how empty is it to build a business chasing like what's trending, but you're here to drive depth and impact? Like, it just doesn't even make any, and people wonder why they're not making more money. I'm like, when everything that you do, be, create is from a place of soul truth, you will not have this problem.
Hmm.
If the money is not flowing, there is something going on. The
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
Never seen it any other way. And of course, we
Yeah.
need to apply smart strategy and all these things. But it's like, even that, like, even the way you're running your business could be part of the lie. Not
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying, like this can show up anywhere, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
We're like overly influenced by, honestly, by dopamine hits and cheap thrills. I'm like, this is not how you build a legacy.
Yeah, and it's also not like how I want to treat people. Like I don't want to take people's time in exchange for like something that I don't even believe in. You know what I mean? Like if I'm putting something to be consumed, I want it to be like honest and true and like valuable.
And also, like, I think about the clients who come into my world. Like, here I am sitting face to face with you. I'm like, how could I ever imagine you would have come into my world off a cheap, like, McDonald's reel? Like, you
Yeah.
wouldn't. It's impossible. Like, every woman who comes on my show who I interact with, like, y'all are not the type.
Yeah. Yeah. And it would be a
So why
huge
would I
bummer to
be,
work with us if we were.
what?
It'd be a huge bummer to work with us if we were the type.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be looking for everything would be like, what's wrong? Like, do you know what I mean? Be like, what hooks do I need to use to make
Hmm.
$100,000 this month? And I'm like, there's your first problem is that you asked me that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, these are not the questions that lead to six-figure months. And I'm not saying, because I also don't like that message of like, don't ask the how. I'm like, ask me the how all day long, but like, this isn't, you know what I mean? But like, well, that isn't it.
Hmm.
But
But I
people
think that like what I see, so
don't.
like there's a difference of like the way that you teach of like there's people who teach and there's people who role model. And so like teachers like will tell you like in the way I'm defining it will like tell you like what to do step by step, things like that. And the way that you teach is more role model of like these are the elements you need, but like the only the tr like what stands the truth is that the element that you need is like your truth, your integrity to infuse within it. So
Yeah.
everything that you give is a tool to be like infused and like remixed as opposed to like one, two, three, four, this is how you have to do it. And so I think that's what sets you apart really is that you're not like teaching in that traditional like punitive way, but in a like very expansive role model way of like the thing that you value most is that each person who works with you trusts themselves to know like what to do. And then you can like role model how to do it for them, with them, alongside them.
Because that's who actually builds wealth. People
Yeah.
who build wealth, it's so weird. Like it's such a weird thing. So it's like the ones who actually do are operating in that way. They're not the ones going like, well, you got to tell me. Like it's not like what you described. It's kind of like that like way we learned in school. Where it's like this or else. It's like
Mm-hmm.
this is the only way. And I'm like, the ones getting there know that's not true,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the ones trying still believe that it are still drinking the Kool-Aid,
Yeah,
but they're also sold that Kool-Aid by the people who are there. It's really fucking twisted.
it is.
That's the dark side to me is I'm like, y'all know that behind the scenes, you did not learn this way. You did not get here this way, but you're teaching this way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
like, this is so unconscious. I'm not saying anyone's doing this on purpose. I'm just like sharing the shadow because it's true. But like, but you believe unconsciously the hook in is to hook the people in the way they've always been hooked in because this is how the system taught them they're going to create success. So they believe that. So then you teach that without even realizing you're doing it because that's like, oh, isn't that the fastest way to make money?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not finger pointing. I don't think people do it on purpose. I'm just like
Yeah.
like observer, but I do believe that that's very common.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, and like it can
And
be
I
complete.
like teaching steps. I will teach frameworks. I will teach this is the process for X, but it's like it's not like you have to do this. Then I mean, you've been in so much of my stuff, you know what it is. It's like I teach steps, but there's depth and context to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Elements, as you said.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you teach to what like so that people can put the thing about them that they know to be true, their like essence, that unteachable part into it. Like
Yeah.
there's certain like the thing that actually like sets each of us apart is completely unteachable, which is why it sets us apart. And so it's
And
just like,
that's the
how do you
moneymaker.
showcase the unteachable? Yeah, like, yeah.
That's
And so
the
there's like, yeah.
moneymaker.
I was talking to somebody the other day who was like, it's like there's we need to like build pedestals on which we can like make our sculpture. And so it's like you need a solid pedestal in order to like create on top of. And I feel like this is really like it's like creation of that like strong, solid foundation to hold you so you can just like be creative within it and like know that like you can trust that it's there. You built it with solidity, you built it with intention, and you built it with support.
Oh my Yeah, this makes me so happy. Like you're just reflecting the things that I really care about.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes in my mind, before I'd be like, is this complicated? Do people get what I mean when I say these things? know what but you
Yeah.
obviously do, and look where we are.
Hmm.
And my clients do. And this is so powerful. And also just as a reflection for other people building businesses, like everybody does not have the take that I have, right? And it's like,
Mm-mm.
but this is my unique take. This is the part where it's like you can't teach someone to like, yes, you can I can teach you how to like think strategically, but it's like you can't teach someone to have your exact energetic makeup, brain, delivery system, energy. Like, and that's the part I want you to, that's what is so monetizable. And I don't mean that in a cheap way, but I mean that from like an impact and influencing the world way. That's it. That's the
Yeah.
thing. You need to monetize that.
Yeah.
Not like, how do you do create a better fucking hook? Even though, like, yeah, we want your, it's shit to perform, but like, you know what I'm saying? It can't come from that frequency, in my personal opinion.
No, and I agree, and it's this is gonna seem like a tangent, but stay with me. So like so often in like indigenous spiritual spaces, there's like people who are not, but who are like they're trying to be, and like all of these things, and it's just like if they just went back to their ancestry and learned those practices, it would be so much more powerful and so much more impactful and so much less harmful and like all these things, and it's like it's because like they will only ever be like an off brand as opposed to like just be, just to like return to their roots. And so I think it's part of that too of just like when you lead in a way that has like that just always comes back to like people's honest core truth and like who they are, then they don't risk trying to like off-brand somebody else because like that's not it. No one's happy in that. Like nobody like everybody like it just it serves absolutely nobody. And so yeah, I think it's a little bit that model of just like don't pursue being an off-brand. Like just figure out, like what.
Be the one. Why are we doing? Yeah, you are not like a side piece.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah.
this stuff so cool?
It
Talk
is.
about the energetics of business, you know?
Mhm.
So interesting. So it sounds like you're getting a lot of value energetically as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it was just something about like that huge unlock of being like, yeah, something about being like, wait, you've done this before in a way where you stopped digging around and stopped like trying to fix yourself to be ready for something, and like the most magical partnership came through. Like stop here, stop trying to fix yourself and just like find ways to support yourself to build, and like just letting those two mirror each other. I was like, oh, it's time. It's time to go. And then as soon as I was like, okay, yeah, it's time to go, like things really took off.
I mean, you've made $75,000 before the end of January.
Yeah.
We're like off to a good start in like a new bit. Like you've been doing it, but it hasn't been publicly facing. And what
Even now, none of that came from public things. I've just started doing like more public facing. Like even those came from like, and that was another thing that like they were all repeat clients who like from like organizations that are like dreams to work with, and they were like, oh, you've done this one thing, do this other thing, do this other thing. And I was like, if everyone you work with wants to keep working with you, people want to work with you, there's no shortage of that. Like go be in the world and tell people what you're doing and let them come to you and do your thing.
yeah, well, you're a perfect example
Yeah.
of that. You came in
Yeah.
where the easiest people to quote unquote sell to are the people who've already paid you, right? There's a lot
Yeah.
of enormous amount of trust built in, but it's like it doesn't mean that you have to like press so hard. It's like you just brought all these other pieces together and it starts
Mhm.
to like then it really does flow naturally. But a lot of spiritual women are just trying to like vibrate on money and have shit fall out of the sky. It's like that is not purposeful. That is not intentional co-creation.
Yeah. No, and like I this is the first time in my life that I've had stability, and like I sustained it for like 2 years before I was like, okay, it's time to like move and like, pursue the things I really want to do more. But like I could not have done that without first building and sitting at stability for a little bit and being like, okay, I'm like regulated here, I'm safe here, like now is here's for the next thing. And so I think there's something to that too of just being like the like making like showing yourself over and over and over that it is safe to bet on you and like bet on yourself over and over. But it's like you have to just be like, this is the safest thing to do. And the way to build that trust with yourself is by doing it like repeatedly.
100%. I'm always talking about like quantum leap, sustain, leap again.
Yeah.
This is how we create. Like we get to have magic, but you want like sustainable magic. You don't want to be
Yeah.
on emotionally, financially, spiritually, none of it.
Yeah. And just for, yeah, and there are things that I know that like in order to maintain this, like big changes are going to have to continue to happen in the way that I work, but it's like this first month like proved to me and showed me that like okay, when you make any like that there's like stability on the other side of like doing what I know I have to do. Um which yeah, which doesn't make it any less scary to think about like the things that I'm going to be doing over the next year to just like cut ties with like all of the leakiest parts of my career because
Oh, yeah.
there's still holes, there's still leaks. Water's coming
Well,
in.
we're making, if we still got leaks and this is the kind of money we're making, imagine. Imagine what is going to occur.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
so cool. This is amazing. So, what would you say to anyone who, because the price of the revolution is going up at the end of Jan,
Hmm.
and what would you just say to anyone who has, like you shared so much, thank you, who's
Hmm.
considering it or hasn't taken the leap or is like, telling stories, doing the things, about
Hmm.
joining?
That it is like a place that like that you like can fit. Like it's like a place that you can like go to grow and that it's not like you don't have to worry about like cobbling together and like all of these different things and like learning from this person and then this person, this person. It's like a home on the internet is like what I think of it. It's like a home for like building like the actual business you want to and that like I hope that um you say this a lot, but it's really helpful that like everyone actually has the same problems. And so like even though I thought like there's no place on, for me to learn all of this and I'm just gonna have to like cram myself into some sort of other like broy container, is that like that it is so like stretchy and adaptable to that and like can really just like follow you there and you can follow it and it does feel like this very it feels like how I want my life and my career to feel of like there's a stable structure within which I can like bop around and be and like create and so it's like not only is it that structure, it teaches you how to then build your own structure that like makes that possible as well. Um and that there's just like it's a place of like just enough as well, like just enough guidance and just enough coaching where also you're just like you at the end of it you're not going to be like, "Oh, I just like went in and learned a model and copied Jocelyn's business and now I have that for myself." It's like I went in and learned how to actually build it for myself, which will serve me for a lifetime and means that I don't have to just like always like sort of like the teach the man to fish thing. You know what I mean? Like you will be taught to fish rather than to be like, like fished for. Yeah. And so it's like a pathway in that way, I think, to authenticity of like, there's no self-abandonment that's going to be necessary. And like, I would like try to learn about like like people are like, oh, this is the one tool of this. And you'd like, I'd go to the free training and it's like this, like, there's like these 14 funnels and like, da da da. And it just like hurt to think about. And I was like, oh, this is the only way. Like, I have to figure this out. And then it's like, no, there's many, many ways. There's as many ways to figure it out as there are people who need to figure it out or desire to figure it out. And this is a place that like allows you to do that without like, that shutdown feeling you get when you're
My
like,
God, yes, I do the
yeah,
same. Like I am my client. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And in a different phase of their journey, I totally get it. And also things are layered. So you don't just
yeah,
run out the gates with 14 funnels and 65 low ticket offers and did like for we like there, you know what I mean? We need to build a foundation. It can
yeah.
like very, it's like what the one thing is at 40, like 65 funnels. Like this is not, and you can have funnels, but not have it be this overwhelming experience.
Yeah, and I think it can't be like
Like you can't learn that way. It's just you just shut down.
right. Yeah. And it builds in so much complexity and so much like heaviness in the way I feel it to what actually can be really simple and straightforward, which is like when you have the support to create something that like lets the things you want to create come into the world in a way that makes sense, as opposed to just like trying to like jam them into other people's frameworks.
Right. And again, why we do the teaching the principles behind, because you will end up with 65 frameworks. You won't even
Mhm.
understand. You will have no understanding of what is going to work best for you and why. And we are going to be on a long climb. Is being very,
Yeah. Yeah, and you're gonna hate it.
you're going to hate it. And it's like, how is that going to, we just don't have time. The better it
No.
gets, the better it gets is what we want to be doing.
Yeah, and like one thing I know I kind of said it before, but with the foundations thing is like also what I've learned in my time is that the foundation building gets to happen while you're also like in the business. Like it's not this like, we hear all the time where like I have friends who've like gone to build a business and it's like they take like 2 years pre-launch and it's just like launch it. You are already the genius. You like use that genius along the way and like it the revolution has helped me to understand like how what I actually need and then like what just gets to build with me as opposed to like being bogged down with like do this and then 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 you're ready. It's like, well then well like I don't really want to take 5 years to do this.
Oh,
I
oh my.
already know what I'm going to teach. Why can't I just put it out? Yeah. Yeah.
Remember what I always say, get paid to be yourself, get paid to
Yeah.
be evolved, get paid to create the end.
Yeah.
It's a living, people forget. I'm like, business is living, it's a living and breathing entity. It's not like a
Mhm.
it's not like one day you got all the answers and now we're ready to go. It's going to evolve forever.
Yeah. And I think just to like something that I was talking to my partner about is like if I have always figured it out, like I'm going to figure this out. Like I think there can be this fear of like like
Somehow
uh,
not you. Like it just
right, like somehow, yeah, like you said, like everyone's problems are the same. Everyone's fears are the same too, of like that there's just like this setting apart of like, well, I'll just like, you know, massively fail at this. And it's like, okay, but then I'll still be alive, I'll still be fine. But it's just like it just becomes this like this thought where it's like if I don't figure this out, like I'm not gonna survive it. And it's just like that's so chill. And also just like it's not gonna like that's not what's happening. Like that's not what's going to happen. And like running through that worst case scenario can be helpful to only to bring yourself to the realization that like the thing that was holding me back from doing it isn't even real. Like that doesn't even exist.
right.
Yeah.
Like you are going to get there. We are going to get
Yeah.
there. The
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
The brain is interesting.
Yeah. Feisty at times.
Feisty at times. I love
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, this has been incredible. So, what's going on in your world? How can the people get in touch with you? We will put links in episode notes and kind of like what types of humans are going to be the best fit for both sides of your company.
Yeah. People interested in like connection to self, connection to the planet, connection to others, community building, things like that, can find me on Instagram and also on Substack. My Substack is ourmedicine.substack.com. And then if you happen to work for a health focused or equity focused organization that wants to bring storytelling into the organization, you can find me on my website at madisonmurphybarney.com or on LinkedIn. But yeah, I think like my Substack, a lot is happening there right now. And like I've just released a new tier where you can write in with questions about like connection, like how do I'm moving, how do I make friends as an adult? Or like what, just like all sorts of different questions around that. And I will monthly respond to those and we'll have monthly gatherings and things like that. But otherwise, I'm writing there once a week. And then my Instagram is about to, be posted on daily, starting in the next week or so. And so just a lot about connection and about like teachings from the planet and things like that.
Oh, this is so cool. I'm just saying, like, as a recipient of content, I love Substack. I am just loving it. I'm loving
Mhm.
the depth people bring to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about non-cheap thrills marketing.
Right.
I
Right.
I really enjoy it. And especially for those of you who are like writing is your thing, like you know
Hmm.
what I mean? I would say people are most drawn for me to my voice and like writing would come second to that. But like it's just so powerful. Like it's just like it's allowing the not the storytellers to like birth themselves where it's like so before I felt like it's like how do you get paid to write? You know what I mean? It's not that
Yeah.
like has to hire you or you like need to write a book, although like let's write all the books, but like I see people getting paid to write their book,
Right.
releasing chat like you're on a subscription, chapters getting released once a month, once a week, whatever, get paid to write, and then you're going to get obviously paid to sell, but it's like you can literally get paid to write now in this like
Mhm.
without someone else saying like we want you like yes let's do this article or like yes we'll publish your book, of course you can self-publish on Amazon, but like you get my point, it's like a
Mhm.
different, I really am just enjoying the evolution.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
like
and it's
like a very
slow.
space and like I mean enjoy reading it, like reading
Mhm.
people I subscribe to.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's something about the pace of it that just feels really human. Like it's slowed down a little bit and you just get to digest things and like read things and just like yeah, it
Feed,
mhm.
not a feed.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's so in that way it's really nice. And I think just like also just bringing to like the like mainstream consciousness that like creators deserve to be paid. I think there's also that element to it that we just have to like get on board with of like why have we like the first thing that like all that tends to go in times of like I don't know, like authoritarian regimes and stuff all shut down like art and creativity. And there's a reason, and it's because it's so powerful. Like, if it's that powerful that it's a threat to like big power structures, then then we need it. Then it is a part of our like our necessary culture and life. And so like we need to pay the people making it.
Sure. And people
Yeah.
want to, it just like
Yeah,
wasn't,
exactly. There was no way to pay them or
no,
to even know that they could write because they like didn't have a journalist job. Yeah.
exactly. Like it just wasn't a thing. It wasn't available. And it's like, monetizing a blog is like a totally
Hmm.
different thing. And also you get shown to a lot of people too, which is kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
like, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This was like
Yeah.
such an incredible conversation on all the different levels, and I can't wait to share it.
Yeah, thank you. And I will see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.